G'day folks, how are you all? My name's Peter Stefanovic. I'm a journalist and broadcaster at Sky News, a one-time Premier League aspirant who had hopes when he was a youngster of playing for Manchester United. Small problem though, I wasn't very good. Fortunately for our guest today, who is here today, was and is very, very good. It's Rio Ferdinand, widely considered to be an English Premier League great. Rio Ferdinand was often described as a Rolls Royce defender. He most famously formed a formidable partnership with Nemanja Vidic in the heart of Alex Ferguson's all-conquering Manchester United side of the noughties, winning 6 Premier League titles, 2 League Cups, a Champions League and a Club World Cup. Ferdinand also represented England 81 times, and he also had the honour of wearing the captain's armband. But now, 7 years after retirement, with a fan base of more than 20 million followers on social media, business interests across a range of industries around the world, and that includes music, clothing, restaurants, a purpose-driven social media app, a self-named youth and community charity. He's also an author, by the way. I've read his book, it's terrific, one of them. Throw in a successful punditry career, and he really is a man who can do it all.
Giggs takes it.
What about that for a hyperreel? Let's bring him up on stage. Rio Ferdinand.
Hi. How you doing?
Good to see you, mate.
You alright?
It's going very well.
Very embarrassing. Watching that. Sorry.
Those dance moves from that kid, it's hilarious.
Yeah, he's a star.
Welcome to Australia. Now, it's not a welcome anymore. You've been here for a little bit. You're about to go home, actually. But how's your trip been so far?
No, it's been amazing. The guys at WeAre8 have had me working. I've barely had my head on a pillow. Jet lag hit me hard yesterday during a meeting. I was almost rolling over in the meeting. But no, it's been great. I've had a great time. The lifestyle is the thing that's just hit me here. Like, I'm just sitting there thinking, do I really want to go home? Other than obviously my family.
Well, because you see surfing as well while you're out here at Bondi, and you could easily...
I wouldn't call it surfing. I'd call it surviving.
Well, at least you're trying.
Surviving in the water. But no, the lifestyle. I went on Bondi Beach where I'm staying, and we walked out at about quarter past, I think it was 6 o'clock, and it was pitch black, and there was people on the beach, man. I was standing there going, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
And I was talking to someone in the green room actually, and it just hit me that the lifestyle here is so much more relaxed, friendly than it is in the UK.
Yeah.
Even just walking down the street at like 6 in the morning, people are talking, looking at you. Hello, how you doing? Yeah, hi, yeah. In England, people are like that, head down, or they're hitting people with their phones because they're on their phone. It's just a rat race.
Are you surprised by that recognition out here? I mean, Australia, where when it comes to sport, as we know, cricket, rugby league, rugby union, that we're kind of most known for. Even though when it comes to football, we just made the round 16 at the World Cup. Have you been surprised by the amount of followers of the game out here? Well, not just the sport, but also Manchester United and yourself?
Not really, because I came out here many years ago, many years ago actually, with Man United, and the response then and the reaction to the team was amazing. Obviously, Man United's a huge brand anyway, and going anywhere in the world normally causes a bit of a reaction, but here it was no different to anywhere else, like full stadiums. Obviously, it's a bit different now. I've been retired for like 7 years from football, so I didn't expect people to even really budge when I was here. But there's a lot of English people here as well, but also you Aussies like football as well, it seems. So it's been good.
We sure do, like the good footballers as well. Now, we've got a short amount of time here with you, so we're going to try and condense your life into a short space of time. But if we go back to the beginning, you come from working class roots in the south part of London. How much did that shape who you are today?
Yeah, obviously coming from a council estate in London, there's there's a lot of negative energy that goes with that, and there's a lot of opportunity to go the wrong way, like many people that I grew up with. But when I speak about South London, it fills me with pride and joy. And the memories I've got there was just exciting times for me. It's all I knew. But the main thing that I took from growing up somewhere like that is a work ethic. You see people getting up. It's a hard life for many people there, but you know that people have to get up and go to work every day. I mean, my mum and dad were the best examples for me in that sense. Getting up, going to, and that was good. What my mum and dad were great at. They weren't people that would try and ram things down your throat and you got to do this, you got to do that. They showed me a good work ethic, the way that they applied themselves, the way my mum worked 2 or 3 different jobs at a time, and give me the energy and the belief that you can try anything. And like you mentioned before, I've managed to kind of put my hand to quite a few different things outside of football, and that stems from the way my mum used to always tell me, go and do different things. Don't be scared to go out and step out away from what you're comfortable with, and be comfortable in uncomfortable situations.
First of all, hands up Manchester United fans in here, just so I know. All right, there's a lot of non...
There's a couple.
Yeah. I thought there might be more. Well, there's not too many Liverpool fans, or that kind of disgraceful behaviour.
Are we going to go there?
No, we don't want to go there.
Okay.
I asked because there's a few names I'm going to drop on this next quote that I want to read to you, because it relates to upbringing. So I've read all the, I'm a United fan, I've read all the books. And there's a quote from Alex Ferguson that he talks about in his most recent book called Leading. He says, "For almost all British players who played for me, football was their ticket out of miserable circumstances. David Beckham came from a small house in East London. Paul Scholes grew up in a council house in Langley. Nicky Butt hailed from Gorton, both places you'd never see a Bentley. Wayne Rooney comes from a hard neighbourhood in Liverpool. Danny Welbeck, Wes Brown both grew up in Longsight, a Manchester neighbourhood known for gang violence. Rio Ferdinand grew up in Peckham. The list is endless." So you answered a little on this on that previous question, but what is it about coming from tough upbringings that creates superstars? Why does that tend to happen more than rich kids?
Because a lot of the time we're desperate. Like when you're young in them situations, you want to get out and be able to be successful. You want to be able to see things, and where you're not given anything, and you just want an opportunity. You want to be noticed and being able to give an opportunity, an olive branch to go and be successful. And it's difficult when you're from them backgrounds, because a lot of the time you don't get a chance to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And in football, for many of the people from the background that I came from, became that light at the end of the tunnel. So you work and you graft, and you don't get sidetracked, and nothing comes easy to you at that point. So you're used to working hard in a hard environment where there's a lot of people with the same mindset as you. So the tough survive, and so by the time you get to Sir Alex Ferguson's team, you're hardened to a lot of stuff, and you can deal with a lot of stuff. So you go into a change room like that where the manager's like a really aggressive, obsessive, dedicated winner, and makes huge demands on you as an individual, and only the tough survive it. It's such cliche kind of words, but only the tough survive in those environments, and that upbringing prepares you for stuff like that. So when you go there, it's not a shock to the system when you're being spoken to aggressively, or there's confrontations, or there's difficult conversations to be had. Like if you're a captain in a team, you've got to have like some uncomfortable conversations at times. You've got to be willing to pull people to the side, and you're going to have to disappoint people with some of the words you're going to be saying to them at points. But you can't go into that feeling like, I can't do it. Sometimes you have to do it for the betterment of the team, and in the long run it's going to be better for that individual who's then going to help you get to your goal, which is to be successful and to win.
Yeah, it's dog eat dog, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and I always go back to my upbringing, helped me get to those points and to be comfortable in those environments.
That drive's got to come from somewhere though, right? Is it because you don't want to stay where you are?
Yeah, but at the same time as well, we've all got egos, we've all got pride, and then when you get to a certain level, it's about making sure that you keep your head above the water, but then obviously you want to get beyond that, and you look at yourself and say, yeah, I'm good, but I want to be great. And then what gets me there? And I was always like that, even from a kid. Where's my targets? Every single I'd achieved something, and I couldn't allow myself to enjoy it as much, which sometimes I think was, I didn't get to enjoy things. I see players sometimes, or people in certain roles and different industries that celebrate unbelievably well. And sometimes I think, I didn't get to do that, man. But then I think to myself, if I celebrated, would that be taking my eye off the ball a little bit too much that I wouldn't have then achieved the next goal, the next target? So I always had those, was playing in my mind about stuff like that, but I don't know where I went with that, but yeah, it took me to that.
You just reminded me then, it was a Billy Elliot kind of story. Were you going to be a ballerina at some point, or were you good at ballet?
Yeah, I was unbelievable at ballet. I was actually really good.
So what made you go there?
No, I'd done gymnastics. I never wanted to be pigeonholed as a kid. That's what Mum used to always say to me, Rio, don't be afraid to do anything. I'll back you. So I'd done drama as a kid in a local youth club. I'd done gymnastics, and a scout saw me doing gymnastics and thought he looks like he could be a ballerina.
Were you the twinkle toes and everything?
Yeah, but it's mad. Initially, I went there, and I have to be honest, to just meet new people and maybe some girls. Right, that was the main. I have to be honest. But I got there, and I got a scholarship because my mum and dad couldn't afford for me to pay to go there. So I got a scholarship, and I ended up staying there for 4 years. But without ballet, I don't know if I get to the level I get to with football because of if you took a kid now and said, right, go to a ballet class and go and play football, I'm guaranteeing you the ballet class will be harder physically for that young player,
you tell your
young
kids
person. That? Yeah, my kids, they're not interested, but.
What?
But like most
in ballet?
Yeah, but it's a fact. It's not an easy discipline. It's hard, and it gave me so much in terms of balance, poise, strength that helped with my later career, which was football.
What did you think when you got that call from Alex Ferguson?
Yeah, it was. I don't know. I was away with England anyway at the World Cup in Japan in 2002. So all the Man United players were kind of tapping me up anyway at the time. Listen, the manager wants you to come, and these things happen, guys. Right? So you get tapped up. So I was like, yeah, okay, cool. And then I got the call to go to United, but Leeds, where the club I was at the time, said you're not going. And I was like, okay. I've worked for all my life to get to a point where I can win a trophy. I haven't won one yet, and you're saying no to that opportunity. And I just said no. So I went and saw the CEO and said to him, listen, I need to go to Man United. And he was like, no, you can't. We've got big plans tomorrow. Funnily enough, he said, tomorrow the team are going on tour to Australia. I said, I'm not going on that tour. I can't go. I need to go to Man United. I know they want me. I know you need to sell me. I ended up sitting in his office outside for 6 hours because he left and just thought I'd just leave and go on the tour. And I said, no, I told his PA, just keep ringing him, please, and tell him I'm not leaving and I'm not going on that plane tomorrow. Luckily, in the end of that day, I got sold to Man United.
Folks, and read out the trophies that Rio won, and that all came after that. Here's a quote of what Fergie said about Rio Ferdinand. He was casual. Sometimes he would glide along in second or third gear, then take off like a sports car. I'd never seen a big lad of 6'2" pose such an impressive change of pace. 6'4". 6'4". Correction. Important correction. With time, his concentration improved and the expectations he placed on himself rose to become the complete footballer. What's that like to hear from the greatest manager of all time call you the complete footballer?
I'm just interested to know where you got that quote from, because he never, ever. So me and Nemanja Vidic, who was my defensive partner, anyone knows about football, we was like two brothers playing together, won loads of stuff together, but we used to go in the sauna as part of our recovery after games and sit there and half the time we'd be sitting there going, the manager never talks about us, man. Never talks about us. He talks about Rooney, Ronaldo and all these guys, but as you don't give us no credit, with winning something, you need the platform where we are the defenders and we stop the other team, and we'd always talk about it. So that surprises me even hearing that. So
yeah, there you go. Yeah. It's in his book, My Autobiography. Yeah. It's a few runs ago now. But yeah, I mean, that's interesting, isn't it? Because he always talks about the fact that he built teams from the back.
Sorry, you know why he done that? Because I'm actually weird, because I'm actually closer to the manager now than I ever was when I played. Because he always made he said, I can't get close to you guys because you guys may become complacent. And he aimed that at me, really, because he used to say, I can't tell you how good you are because you was that type from South London where if I told you that, your personality was maybe you take your foot off the gas and you feel it's complete. And looking back, he's probably right. And he was great at that. He identified weaknesses and strengths in people and really honed in and pressing buttons on individuals. He never treated the room like a blanket approach, one size fits all. It was very much like, I need you for this. And do you know a mad thing what he used to do in terms of leadership? If he wanted to get a reaction from a younger player like a Rooney, a Nani, a Ronaldo, or one of the guys, at half time he would come in and he'd go like to me or one of the senior guys, Giggsy or someone, and just absolutely obliterate us. And you'd be sitting there going, bro, I've done nothing wrong, I've been unbelievable. Is this guy crazy? Like, what the hell's he doing? Like, and you're sitting there, like, you could see every time he'd done it to someone, they'd be sitting there going, you can't be talking to me. And then sometimes you'd go back at him and he'd have an argument with you almost. And then after he'd go, listen, it wasn't for you, it was for them. And you sit there going, like, oh my God, I've got to play 45 minutes now, and you've just like
you rattled the confidence.
Yeah, so, but he was so, and then all of a sudden you'd go out and one of the young guys pops up with a winner. And you'd sit there and go, this guy's a genius, man.
So what I mean, and folks, for the non-football fans, Alex Ferguson, famous for having a temper. It's called the hairdryer. Did you ever get the hairdryer treatment for something that you actually did?
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. We played against Bayern Munich. For anyone who knows football, they're a big German team. We played against them in the Champions League, and he made a decision to substitute a player in the game that I didn't agree with. And on the pitch, I was like waving my arms, going, "What are you doing?" Like, obviously, a few more swear words, and gesturing. And then come down the tunnel, and I was screaming, shouting, like, "What the hell?" We lost the game in the end. So in my mind, Sir Alex Ferguson made a big mistake. Not me, not one of us. It was him. So I was screaming, and I remember going into the changing room, and it was just everyone was sitting round. It's a circular change room, and everyone was just sitting as you do after a game when you get beat. And I was screaming when I walked in, and he went, "Sit down!" Like a head teacher, and I'm sitting down, and he just came over the top of me and was just like, basically like a shower, because he spits when he shouts. So it was just like all over, and I'm sitting there like shouting back, but thinking I don't want to say it because I don't want it to land on my lip or anything like that. So I was like, and in the end, one of the guys said, "Listen, Rio, just leave it." And I was like, "No, but I'm right." So then on the plane home, one of my teammates said, like, "Listen, you know, if you want to stay here for many years, you look at the other guys who are a bit more senior than you, they've been here like 13, 14 years. They don't really shout back or talk back." And I was like, "That's not me, man. But I'm just going to be my honest self, and if he doesn't like it, he doesn't like it." And I remember going in the next day. I couldn't sleep that night on the way back, so I went in early. He was always in early. He's a freak like that. And I went in, knocked on his door, and he was like, "Who is it?" And I opened the door, and I poked my head round and I said, "It's me, boss." And he went bananas again.
Round two?
Yeah, round two. And I was thinking, I've come to apologise, man. But he was just like crazy. But that was him just making sure there was separation between like him as a leader and me thinking as a player to come and like test his leadership in front of the team. And I said, "You know what my biggest mistake, boss, was? That I didn't approach the situation with just me and you. And I understand that me trying to test your leadership and gesturing on the pitch in front of everybody kind of puts question marks over your leadership in the eye of the public, and that can't be right."
Right, so that's a step towards diplomacy that you end up needing later on in life.
Yeah.
An initial step. Celebrity footballers. George Best was probably the first one to come along. David Beckham obviously has taken that to a new level. Yourself as well, using outside interests while you were playing the game. And he has expressed, he expressed frustration in his books about your outside interests, worried that you're not focused on the game. So how did you marry your outside interests, whether it be business or celebrity or whatever, with what actually made you famous in the first place, which was the game?
Yeah, I think it's an important point, because I think one of the key things with me, it wasn't about celebrity. I was interested in business. Like I said, I didn't like to be pigeonholed. I'm a footballer, but I've got other interests, whether it be media, whether it be fashion, whether it be my foundation or whatever it is. And I wanted to look at how I could get into those and explore those different industries. But the key thing for me was I wouldn't allow myself to go into those different areas until I was completely 100% sure that I knew from Monday to Saturday what I needed to do every day to be the premium me on Saturday come match day. So when I got to that, where I was comfortable with consistently winning, playing well, I then had the confidence to be able to look at those other areas, explore, and start taking baby steps into those areas. And I remember the manager, I opened a restaurant, which I've still got now in Manchester, called Rosso. And he got wind of that. And so the manager and David Gill, the CEO at the time, called me into a meeting. So if you ever get called into the manager's office, it's normally a big deal and normally it's trouble. So I was going to his office thinking, I've not done nothing wrong. I don't know what the hell's going on. I walk into the room and the manager goes, what the effing hell is Rosso? And I was like, oh, it's my restaurant. I've just opened it with a guy I know. And he went, well, you got to close it. You have to close the restaurant. I was like, whoa, what do you mean? He said, look, you're a footballer. You're going to be in there, living it up, cooking. You're going to be behind the bar. What are you going to be doing? You want to be a focused footballer? I said, listen, boss, unless you're going to give me like a 15-year deal the day I retire, I'm going to look at other stuff. If my performance drops, I understand it. But I'm playing okay. I'm doing all right. I'm still in the team. We're winning. If that changes, then I'll definitely look at what you're saying. But until then, boss, give me the contract or I'll keep the restaurant.
Did he back down?
No, he ended up having these Christmas parties with his staff in the restaurant. Unbelievable. Serious. Yes. He had a table, the CEO had a table, it was brilliant. So I got the better of that one.
Racism in sport, you've dealt with it, your brother dealt with it. We have it here in Australia. There's no outlier. Every country has their own problems. Is it getting better at all?
No. If I'm being blunt, it's not. I don't know if you was aware of the 3 black players that missed penalties for England in the Euros. The amount of abuse that they got and they were subjected to on social media was just like horrendous. It's weird because I was filming a documentary on Amazon. I'm not punting it, but called Tipping Point. If you want to watch it, it's on Amazon. But it was. Well, I was doing a lot of the research and the data we was finding from the social media platforms. And just looking at the comments and the volume of comments these guys were getting around games, and it's just staggering to see this. And I was with 2 of the guys that got abused a couple of weeks ago, talking about it, and I was just thinking, like, these guys have got huge resources, they've got so much money. One's been bought for £85 million. These guys are bulletproof to everybody on the outside. You'd assume with all what I've just mentioned. But they were kind of put into a box and just like felt did have no protection. The governance doesn't protect them. And they're sitting there going like, well, what do I do? And I'm thinking to myself, if these guys are feeling like that, imagine the guys who don't have the protection of a big corporation behind them, don't have the money, don't have all of those resources around them. Imagine those guys when they're getting those negative messages online, whether it's or any type of discrimination, toxic behaviours. And that's what led me really to WeAre8, because that toxic behaviour that isn't governed and there's no repercussions for people really on those platforms. And that's where the documentary come in terms of finding this all out. And is there an alternative to what's out there? Because I think there always has to be an alternative. There has to be one side and there has to be another side. And being on the right side of history with WeAre8, for me personally, it is a solution for a lot of problems that I see within my game, in the wider society, but also in my house. I've got 4 young kids. I've got another one on the way. But 3 of my kids are at an age where they're on social media. And most of our conversations are like, Dad, why can't I just be on social media freely without you looking over my shoulder? Or just let me just have X, Y, or Z. And I'm like, but I'm a dad. Me and Kate are trying to protect you. Like if I want to see exactly what's going on. And again, that's why WeAre8 for me. People are saying, what the hell's an ex-footballer doing with a social media company? How does that connection come? It's just those values that I have inside myself to help my household, but also other kids and people outside, is being helped. And I'm armoured now in my conversations with my kid with an alternative.
So, and bringing in WeAre8 now, how do you choose business deals or relationships to get involved with?
I think first and foremost, I think especially with the tech stuff that I've been involved with, it's the founders. I need to believe in that person. I need to see somebody who tells me something that is obviously compelling, is backed up by a lot of experience and data, and then there's a work ethic, and there's that insatiable kind of desire to achieve and be different and be brave and to step out. And I think that's the parallels from my career with business as well, is that bravery. I think to be successful and to win big trophies and be consistent and stay at the top, there's got to be an element of bravery to stand out from the crowd and take a risk. You don't win nothing without risks, and calculated risk at times. But meeting Sue Fennessy, the founder, and Lizzie now over here in Australia as well, has been, I feel privileged really to be able to be working alongside two women who are leading in a way that they are, and who have kind of put a lot of confidence in me as well. But I was obviously led, we were talking about Sir Alex Ferguson for the first few minutes of this, who's a great leader, but I see so many similarities in the way that these guys conduct themselves and have that obsession with being perfect, not overly, but being perfect in certain situations and looking at the details, trying to make change, trying to better people's lives. And this is a rewarding part of my life. And I look at my career and think, you know what, I had a great career, really enjoyed it. And a lot of people say, like, your career's finished in football, like, what are you going to do now? And one of the things for me really is like, it's mad. Adam Goods, obviously you guys are well aware who he is. I was doing some research because I interviewed him for an exclusive interview that I'm doing for WeAre8. And just researching him, I saw a quote that he said, and I thought, wow, this guy's been reading my quotes. Because he said something that I've not seen many other sportsmen say, or I've not seen other sportsmen say it before. And he said, if in 20 years people are still talking about my rugby, then I've failed in life. That's exactly how I feel and what I say about football. So to hear him say that, and he's obviously involved with WeAre8 as well, and I sit there and I look at WeAre8 now as being something that I hope will be that something that eclipses what I've done with football. That's the aim, and that's the power I feel that this project has.
High mark to achieve. I'd like to keep talking for 2 hours, but I've got to hand it over to some other questions now from folks in the crowd. They're coming over now.
Thanks for having me, by the way, guys. It's good here. I like it.
Oh, good, is he? Okay, so let's go on this one here. Okay, this is a question from Matt. Rio, you've played with Ronaldo and against Ronaldo and Messi. Who's the more dangerous footballer? Also, Arsenal to win the league. I'm assuming Matt's an Arsenal fan. Yeah.
Is that you? Are you the Matt? Is that you? I saw you in the toilet and you said this to me before. No, they're just different players. I think, you know what? We're built to compare everything. And when we're lucky to be in an era where we've had some unbelievable rivalries, like Cristiano and Messi is a huge rivalry, it's a great rivalry. I just don't like comparing them. It's like Rafa Nadal versus Federer. Do you know what I mean? It's like they're just great rivalries that you go, you know what, I appreciate greatness. They're different. Messi's just like, it's like he's been just put on this earth to just be what he is. He's just great. Ronaldo, again, huge talent. I remember the first time we saw Cristiano when we went to Portugal and opened the stadium for Sporting Lisbon, his team he was playing for. And I remember coming in at half-time and looking at John O'Shea, who was marking Cristiano Ronaldo, and he looked like he needed an oxygen chamber. He was sitting there. And I said, like, you're going to get close to this guy? He said, I can't. Like, he was so good at, like, 17, I think he was at the time. And we left that stadium, and I remember being on the coach at the end of the game. This is on the back of a 2.5-week tour. So we're in Portugal, and we're like, we just want to get home after the game. An hour and a half's gone by, and we're still sitting outside on the coach, and we're all like moaning, little divas going crazy about, we want to get home, what's going on? The manager and the CEO gets on the coach after, and it filters back that they were trying to do the deal for Cristiano before we left the stadium.
Is that right?
So he was that good, and they'd done the deal, they'd agreed the deal before we got out of Portugal. So it was a worthwhile trip. But my point about him is his work ethic is the killer point for me with Cristiano. Yeah, he's got talent. His talent was undeniable, but his work ethic even surpassed that, which was just like that's the respect I have for him was just phenomenal.
So committed to his diet too, and you know, look at him.
No, he was committed to looking good. so and the diet was a byproduct of that. But he was the first football player that I saw who actually built a team around him to build the physique, the resilience, with a nutrition. I mean, he lived 2 doors up from me, and I used to go in his house because he was like a young kid. I used to look after him a little bit. But so I'd go in there and just like, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And I remember walking in there one time, and there was like about 10 guys just sitting in the front room. So I walked and I said, Chris, just come in the kitchen. I said, who the hell are these guys, man? What's going on? He said, no. He said, that's my nutritionist, that's my chef, that's my doctor, that's my physio, that's my masseuse. And I was like, oh, this guy's crazy, man. But he invested in himself. And LeBron does it now with...
Yeah, and more players do it.
Yeah, more players are doing it. And I think it was just like, he just saw that early, and he knew he was good, but again, he wanted to be great, and he had to put certain things in place to be able to go and execute.
Can you get LeBron in WeAre8? Maybe you already have.
Not yet. It's a work in progress.
Working on that. Question here from Ian. Social platforms are an issue, but how do we change other commentary on channels, press, radio, TV, ex-players on these channels, rating, criticising, putting down these players? Someone like Trent's been pulled down by the media, not just the public for his lack of ability to defend, through to Rashford and Sterling's portrait in the media as well. That question from Ian.
I think with performance, listen, I don't have no sympathy for anybody who gets criticised for performance. I just think that's part of it. You go into the game, and criticism of your performance, first and foremost, should be coming from you. So if anybody criticises you for a bad performance, you should be sitting there going, I don't like that, because humans, we don't know one wants to be criticised. But you know if you've played well or if you haven't. When it gets personal, I think that's when the problems come. So I'm a pundit, so I commentate or I report on the games and the performance. My yardstick is, if you're going to get personal, that's going over the line. If you're going to be vindictive of the individual, that's going over the line. But if I'm going to criticise performance, I'm very confident and calm about it, because I think, can I then go into a room with that individual and be comfortable? If I'm walking in the room with that individual and I'm thinking, it doesn't feel right, that means I've gone over the line. I've never had that feeling, because I try to stay on the right side of that. But yeah, I think it becomes personal with some people, but I think the criticism of performance, if we can stay in that lane, then that's what sport's about.
Do you think players become softer these days? And is...
Are we recording this?
Is social media responsible for that to an extent?
Yeah, I think that I do sympathise with the players now, because social media means that... So when I played, we played the 90 minutes on a Saturday. The next game came around the next Saturday. The criticism, the noise, the volume switches off when that final whistle goes until the next game. Whereas now, it's constantly on with social media. So it's constantly at the end of their fingertips. We're all on our phones. We're all seeing it. So I talk to coaches and players now. The game finishes. Within 90 seconds of sitting in that change room, half the team are on their phones looking at what the reports are on their performance, what the comments are. I can't imagine being like that.
How do you think you'd go with today's distractions as a player?
I think you got to have thick skin. But I think all of us in this room, I think most of us in this room will be similar in that, say we get 100 comments, not all of us get that, but say for argument's sake we all got 100 comments, and 98 of them comments were positive, and there were 2 bad ones. The 2 bad ones probably ruin our day. And footballers are no different. They're all humans. They're the same. Sports people are the same. So that's the problem. So then I sit there and think to myself, if I was playing, I probably don't even look at the comments. I wouldn't. I'd just turn it off. Because the comments I'm only concerned about are my ones or the managers. That's it. Nobody else's.
Should players be on social media? I mean, people say that, you earn enough money from endorsements or whatever. Are you doing yourself a disservice by being on an Instagram or being on a Facebook and being exposed to these kind of comments, especially the racial comments?
My comments will be going WeAre8.
Yeah.
Because there's no toxic behaviour, there's no hate talk on there. It's moderated. So there is an alternative. I think if you haven't got the thick skin, or you're just not built to be able to deal with those negative comments like that, then there is an alternative now. There wasn't before. But I do think it's difficult for the players, so that I'm not going to sit here and say that I'll be able to deal with it perfectly well. I don't know, because I'm not playing now, but it's a difficult one. It's hard.
A question on WeAre8 here. Firstly, as a parent, thank you for developing a social platform for good. We heard earlier today the rapid adoption of social platforms. Can you share any plans on how WeAre8 will get to 100 million users faster than TikTok?
Well, I think you guys have more power than you probably know. I think it's down to you guys as well in this room. There's many of you here who have the power in your hands to deploy the finances to the right place, where the impact's going to be huge, and it's going to have an effect not only on the environment, on charities that would never see that money maybe, but also the citizens of Australia. So we were at number 10 with Sue. Where are you, Sue? You in here? But we were at number 10 with Sue over there in London talking to government about this, and I just don't understand how I shouldn't have to explain it anymore. That's the way I feel now. I don't have to come in, and I don't feel I have to kind of convince anybody now, because there's some great data now and research been done in comparing some of the results in terms of eyeballs and staying in the topics and staying on with the what am I talking about, Sue? Huh? Attention. See the detail, the little details.
He's got jet lag.
Yeah, yeah, that's a real thing. But no, the attention is one of the key things in terms of like the data shows it's just blowing others out of the water, and I think it's important that you look at that and think the power's in this room to be able to change that. And with the government, what I was talking about, we were saying like if you spend $1 billion in advertising across other platforms, what are you getting back for your people? And that was when that question got put across the table, and then you go, well, if you spend that with WeAre8, $500 million of that comes back to people in your country in an economic crisis, and a big percentage of that also goes to the climate, and those people have a choice then to forward that to charities of their choice, and it's compelling for me.
Do you think Fergie hardened you up for dealing with politicians now?
No, I think the media did. Because they're the ones that... Did anyone hear the radio show I was on the other day?
Oh, of course it's Kyle and Jackie, eh?
Yeah, man, that was random stuff was going on.
Yeah.
Luckily that I was prepared in terms of my early life in media in England, because...
Well, you were asked about Beckham's...
Yeah.
It came from Kyle.
Yeah, it was...
I didn't hear it, but
I was just so random. I was like, whoa, where did this come from? But
so a politician's going to be easier than, say, Kyle.
Yeah, definitely.
Another question here, in a few words, why we should all learn about WeAre8 and connect with WeAre8.
Say again?
Why, in a few words, bring it up again, in a few words, why should we all learn about WeAre8 and connect with WeAre8?
No, I think I've spoke about the toxic behaviours that go on social media platforms and the impacts in terms of mental health, especially with a lot of people, from that negative talk and the toxic behaviours that go on. With WeAre8, that is moderated, as I said before. But as I said, for me as a parent, there's a lot of layers that are positive for me in terms of my children being able to go on somewhere where I know that it's a safer place to play. They can put content on there without feeling judged. Because I'll tell you a story about one of my kids. I don't know about you guys who've got children, but are you taking a lot of pictures of your children? Like when you're out and about, when they're dressed up, when they're going out and stuff like that. I'm taking photos like 10 at a time, and I'm thinking, wow. So I looked at his Instagram the other day, and he had 2 pictures on his grid. I said, Lorenz, come here. Where the hell are these pictures that I've been taking, man? And he was like, what do you mean? I said, I've looked on your Instagram, you've got 2 pictures. I've taken probably 1,000 pictures in the last month. Where are they going? And he was like, no, I post, but then I delete. I said, what do you mean you delete? He said, no, do you not know? You not heard about post and delete? I said, no. He said, well, I post it, but then, I don't know, if it don't get the likes or I'll get a few back, I'll just delete it, man. I was like, and that was just an answer for me. And then the psyche of these young people, the way that they haven't got the confidence to keep something up because of fear of being judged.
Yeah.
And again, that's where I feel with WeAre8, my connection with that is so deep, with just elements like that in my household I'm seeing that I know that's going on elsewhere.
How do you parent that? You've got kids who would have a lot of pressure to be as successful as you. And how do you deal with that?
I don't put pressure on my kids to do anything. I say, listen, whatever you want to do, I'm there. We will back you. We'll take you there. I'm a glorified Uber driver right now, taking them to all their clubs and stuff like that, which is great. But I just say, listen, if I'm going to take you there and I'm going to take time and take you as a parent, just make sure you work hard when you're there for me. Please just work hard. And so that's all I try and talk about. And that's why when I go gym, I don't tell my kids to work out or to live healthy. They just see it. Even going to work, I'm fortunate I don't have to go to work, but I want to go to work because I like it, for one. It gets me out of the house as well, a bit of respite. But I want my kids to see that. I don't want my kids to see me just lazing about and waking up and just seeing me in bed every day. I want them to understand that me going to work every day is a thing. Like, I'm here in Australia. I like the fact that at times the kids are waking up and saying to Kate, "Where's Dad? When's he home? He's at work." They just need to hear that.
Almost out of time, 2 minutes. A couple of more questions here. One is about, we must have a few Arsenal fans in here. If you ever, what Arsene Wenger might have been like as a manager. Did you ever consider that?
Did I consider going to Arsenal?
Yeah, or wonder what he might have been like as a manager?
He's someone I think I would have enjoyed playing for.
Yeah.
He was very different to Sir Alex Ferguson. Sir Alex Ferguson, as I said, was really aggressive and made big demands really in your face, whereas Arsene Wenger was very much more calm, placid kind of approach, but still with that steely, underlying like winning mentality. But he brought a lot of new things to the game, like nutrition and stuff like that, and the way we prepare for games, the way you recover after games. So I didn't get to play for him, but I respect him.
Who was better out of the 2008 or 1999 Manchester United teams?
My team. Yeah. My team's a better team.
I knew you'd say that. And how are things tracking at the moment at United, in your view?
They're getting better.
All right.
They're getting better. No, it's improved under Eric Ten Hag, but he needs time. And I think that's like in all walks of life, people need time to implement all of their ideas, their strategies, etc. You can't expect it to just happen overnight. And unfortunately in football, a lot of the time isn't really afforded to people. But if he gets the time, I think he's going to have a good opportunity. He still needs to make a few new signings. 3 big things have happened in his early part of his management that he's dealt with impeccably. The captain, he's made a decision that he's not his first choice. At Man United, to say to your captain you're not going to play is a big decision. But he's come out of that okay. Marcus Rashford turns up to a meeting before the morning of a game, comes late, says you're not playing, I'm going to punish you. He then comes on in that game and scores a goal, wins the game. Could have gone the other way. Cristiano Ronaldo, that saga, the manager comes out of that smelling of roses. These 3 big things early on in his Man United career as a manager, he's dealt with really, really well. And long may that continue. Yeah,
no, it's interesting. Pap shot the other day. I saw of Eric Ten Hag at a restaurant with Alex Ferguson. So it's good that they have a good relationship. We're out of time, folks. Rio Ferdinand.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed.
What do you know?